back. I know it's been a while since I've been on here, but things have been moving along in the brewing area. The biggest change, for now anyway, is that I've actually gone to kegging, and I'll give you my opinion of that in a second. This is the light beer that I've been brewing, and turned out great like it usually does, but this was my first foray into kegging, and I got some kegs online from Homebrew headquarters. I almost couldn't pass up the deal. I think they were around $70 for a brand new keg. So I got two of those. I had some equipment that a friend down the street, Scott, had given me. So I had the regulator and I had the CO2 tank. And I just kind of went from there. Cheers. Yeah, that's a great beer. There's a video online of this if you're curious about the formula or you want to make it. I still am going to be bottling. There's no doubt about that, because down here in Texas, I'm very uncomfortable with brewing in the summer. It's so warm, it's hard to chill things down without running a couple chillers into an ice bath and then into your brew pot. So, but for now, I'd say like October, November through May, I think that's perfect kegging. And if I do a last batch in May of a couple, do a couple kegs of like the light ale and maybe an amber ale or a Kolsch, that'll certainly boost up the inventory, because I usually get about 18 cases done by the end of spring, and then that takes me all the way through the year with all the folks that come over. So anyway, did a brew today, did another chocolate sweet stout. That video's out online from months ago. So if you're curious about that one, that is certainly a good beer. The kegging has been very interesting. I mean, I think everybody agrees that bottling is kind of a pain. The advantage, I think, in bottling is you can have 5 or 6 different types of beer all the time for people that come over. Certainly if you have a big kegerator or keezer, you can have 4 taps going at one time with different beers, but I don't have a setup like that. I've got a freezer behind me where I typically store my bottles. There's enough room in there for 2 kegs, and that's about it. And really, given the limitations of the shop right now, I have a heat pump so that it's warm in the winter and cool in the summer. I've got a lot of other, obviously, lid signs behind me. I've got pool equipment behind me. There's just too much to really put in another, keezer. I'd have to run more power out here to do that, and I don't think I'm up for that right now. But I'm enjoying the 2 kegs. It is so much quicker than bottling. It really is. I had some issues at first with kind of dialing in the carbonation, but I think now I'm okay. I started with about 15 pounds of pressure in there and let that go for about a week and dialed it down to 10. But I ended up with enormous heads on the beer, and finally dialed it down to about 9 pounds for serving, and that seems to be kind of the golden spot for me, at least on the light. The Kolsch that's in there right now, I haven't really given that a shot yet, but it's been about 2 weeks in the keg, so we'll see how that turns out. But in the meantime, I think this is a good way for me at least move a little inventory, bump up my inventory a little bit in the spring, moving into early summer. And it certainly is good. As far as the taste, I don't really notice much of a difference in the flavor. What I have noticed though is that when it comes to the carbonation, the bubbles are very tiny and almost hard to see, whereas the naturally carbonated bottles, I definitely can see the carbonation in there. But from like a mouthfeel perspective and a flavor perspective, I would say there's no difference. So to each his own. But I've enjoyed doing it, and I don't anticipate not doing it except during the summer months. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at on the brewing. I've got I will tell you one thing, the Miller High Life Ale that I've brewed had a very strange fermentation. I think that might have been the last batch I brewed last spring. It had a very drawn out fermentation period, which I thought was odd. And I'd used a Safe Ale, US 05 in there, And for some reason, this thing just seemed to want to keep fermenting and fermenting. After about 3 weeks, I kind of called it and went into my secondary, and then things stabilized, and it tasted fine. Even going into, I just take a sample to do a reading on it, even going into the bottling bucket, I thought it tasted fine. But it developed a very interesting aftertaste after it had been in the bottle for a while. And it's, my buddy Dan, who was over here brewing with me today, said it's a champagne aftertaste, and he hit it right on the head. It is a champagne aftertaste. It's very unusual. I have no idea what caused it. I've read up some stuff online where people have had similar problems, and a lot of people pointed to the yeast, saying that they thought the yeast had dried the beer out. And I have no idea what caused it. I started to think maybe it was the grain bill, maybe there was something wrong with the flaked corn that I got, but the corn at that point shouldn't have had any issues with it because it was all brand new. Now it's about a year old and it's in the pouch, so it's sealed, but I'm going to be very, very iffy if I even use it. I may open it up and taste it and see if it's okay, and if it's okay, then maybe. But I wouldn't, it's not that it's undrinkable, because it certainly isn't, but it's very strange. So if you give it to someone, I think you're going to, I am anticipating that there'd be a reaction to it, that it's very odd. It's not overwhelming, the champagne aftertaste, but it's very different. So if any of you have had that before, and you know what caused it, I'd be very curious, and give me a note. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at on things. I plan on doing another High Life knockoff, but I'm going to alter the formula, so when I go to do that, I'll certainly post it out here so you can see it, and then we'll follow up with it down the road and see what happened. As far as my liquid yeast versus dry yeast experiments, I've decided that for the Kolsch and for the High Life knockoff, no, I'm not doing dry yeast. I'm going to go right back to the old liquid Kolsch yeast and use those. I think that had a better flavor to it. Certainly the Kolsch did for sure. And I'm, if the yeast is an issue with the High Life, that'll put an end to that. So anyway, that's it, guys. Sorry I haven't been on for a while. I hope you guys all have a great Homebrew Wednesday, a great week. Cheers.
This has been a Matty Boy presentation. Say bye-bye, Matty.
Bye-bye.